Welcome back. So, there's been quite a few comments and views on the Plumtree booze heist video, and a lot of people asking questions of the punishment and various recollections from those days. So I thought I'd come back with another story from the school, because it seems that people are enjoying hearing them. I'll get to more of them later. Way back when, in the day, we used to have rugby matches down at the bottom field, and these were often between major schools like Falcon and Plumtree and whatnot. The whole school would turn out, and various people from the area would pitch up and come for the game. They would come in their own buckies, and they would bring beers and sit in the back of their buckies or get their deck chairs out and watch the boys play rugby. Notable amongst these people was an elderly man by the name of Dudley Walton, and he lived in Plumtree Village, and he was a bit of a mysterious character. And the boys, we used to sit in the grandstands while we were cheering our teams on, and we would take a look at this character down there, and he would be like a subject of some curiosity. As I said, I think his name was Dudley Walton. And he was known for being a drinker, quite a serious drinker and a bit of a party animal. And it was reputed that he had a bar, which was very popular with people in the area. Now, you've got to remember that this is a tiny border town next to Botswana, and there's hardly anyone or anything there except a railway station and a border post. Anyway, this Dudley Walton character was somewhat of a legend, and the boys were constantly thinking and talking about him. He would rock up to these rugby matches with some of his bearded friends. They were old, elderly men, and they would sit in the back of their short wheelbase Land Rover with a crate of beer and other alcohol and drink. But it became a story that if you were to go visit Dudley Walton, he would actually welcome the schoolboys and actually give them something to drink. So this was something that sparked our curiosity. There was a mate of mine by the name of Graham Smiley, and he was in Grey House. I was in Milner, but we got together and we decided, listen, this legend of Dudley Walton needs to be investigated. We need to go and find out if these stories are true. And we chose a night to do it. It would be a Sunday night, and we would meet after everyone had gone to sleep, and we would get out of the school, find Dudley Walton's house, and go and check out these stories if it was true. So I think it was after lights out, which was probably about 8 o'clock. I snuck out of the dorm, went out of Milner House, went across Patterson Field down to the cricket pavilion, where I was waiting for Smiley to arrive. He was going to escape from Grey House. It was a dark night. The moon was there, but I just sat there in silence, wondering if Smiley was going to pitch up. So I sat there for about 10 minutes, smoking cigarettes and feeling quite alone. Then I heard this thumping noise, and it was just like footsteps running fast towards me. And I thought to myself, oh shit, have I been caught? Is it a security guard? What's going on? But it turned out it was Smiley, and he was running towards me, and he had successfully got out of Grey House, and we were about to start our adventure. I was like, you made it? Yeah, I made it. Okay, let's go. So we walked across Patterson Field towards where the hockey pitch was. Crossed the hockey pitch, went through the little bit of bush to the security fence, and we climbed up the security fence, over the barbed wire, and out of the school into the bush. Now, the fence didn't pose much of a problem to us getting out, so I can't imagine it would have been much of a problem for the gooks to get through, but, we made it out of the school. So we walked through the bush, and we walked to the Tegwani Road. I mentioned it in another video, and we turned right down this dirt road to go to where we knew Dudley Walton's house was. Walked for about a kilometer, came to this rusty gate on the right, and this house was set back from the road. You couldn't see it. So we opened the gate and we walked down this driveway in the darkness in a canopy of trees. Now, probably about 9 o'clock at night. And we didn't know what to expect. Eventually, we came up to this old Rhodesian house. I'm talking the ones with the veranda all the way around, a rusty tin roof. Must have been 100 years old, this house. But there were lights on and there was music coming from the house. And we thought to ourselves, this is it. There's a party going on here. The legend is real. We're going to go and we're going to meet Dudley Walton. In the yard, there was some rusted old cars, some machinery, whatever Dudley did, I don't remember, but he was kind of, I would say, a little bit of a hillbilly character, and as I say, a legend in Plumtree. So we sneaked up to the house. There were a few vehicles in the parking area, and we saw what we thought was the lounge. And so we snuck up to the lounge, and we peeked in the window to see what was going on. Inside were a number of people. They were dancing around, talking, laughing, smoking cigarettes, and drinking. But there was one person who was lied out flat on the couch, passed out, clearly drunk. And that person went by the name of Laurie Allenthwaite. Now, Laurie Allenthwaite was a history teacher at Plumtree, and he was a popular chap. I mean, he used to make the lessons interesting, and he used to tell stories and keep the boys entertained. It wasn't just like a dry history lesson. It was more storytelling, and he got our imaginations going. So he was actually a very good teacher, and he was a swimming coach. Now, he had bright orange hair, so he went by the name Fanta. And there we were, parked outside Dudley Walton's house in the middle of the night on a Sunday, with a party going on inside, and Fanta, our history teacher, was passed out on the couch. We're like, fucking hell, what are we going to do? We can't go in here, and Fanta wakes up and sees us. We'll get into huge shit. So we had a bit of a problem. We thought, well, I mean, surely this expedition is not going to work out as we intended. But then we saw Dudley Walton get up and head to the kitchen. So we thought this was our opportunity. So we walked along the veranda and sort of sheepishly approached the kitchen and knocked. And Dudley Walton turned and said, "Oh yeah, what are you guys doing here?" We're like, "Mr. Walton, we're sorry, but we heard that if we came, you might give us a couple of drinks." He kind of nodded, and he said, wait there. Now, Dudley Walton was reputed to have a very big fondness of mainstay cane. And legend had it that when he opened a bottle of mainstay cane, he would drop the lid on the floor and stomp on it. In other words, saying that this bottle will be finished. So that was part of his legend, and we wanted to find out if it was true. Turned out it actually was. So Dudley came out about 5 minutes later with 2 big glasses of double mainstay canes, Missouri orange and ice, and handed them to Smiley and myself. And he said, "Listen, you boys, you better not come in. You better sit out there, and I'll see you in a bit." We were like, holy shit, this is awesome. So Smiley and myself, we went into the garden. We found a piece of junk to sit on, and we sat there drinking our mainstay and Missouri, smoking cigarettes under the stars with the crickets making a noise, and just having a thoroughly good time listening to the music. All the time we were worried that Fanta was going to wake up and come out, and we would just scarper into the bush. He wouldn't see us. Thankfully, Laurie Allenthwaite, or Fanta, he remained asleep, passed out on the couch. So I think we probably had about 2 or 3 drinks. Dudley came out and refilled our glasses 2 or 3 times until about midnight. And we decided, look, it's probably best that we go. And we head back to the school. Now, a little bit tipsy, Smiley and myself, we walked out of his driveway, turned left up the Tegwani Road, went up to the school fence through the bush, climbed over a little bit more precariously than we had come out, and made our way back to our respective houses. Smiley went to Grey, I went back to Milner. and promptly fell asleep. We didn't have much of a hangover the next morning, but what we had done is we had had a big adventure, and we had actually found out that the legend of Dudley Walton was actually true. So these and many more stories are in a book I wrote called The Plum-Tree Diaries. I'll try and put the cover up here. I don't know how to do it, but I'll try. It's recently been reworked and revised and expanded, and it's available in paperback and Kindle. I will put a link in the description here below. Also, if you're into action-adventure stuff, I have a series of 11 books now. They begin with this one. It's called The Phantom of the Congo. Properly inspired by Wilbur Smith type early hard-edged action stuff. You can check it out. I'll put a link down there as well. Come back. There's many more stories to tell. Like all YouTubers say, like, subscribe, share, or don't. And if you do, come back. I'll see you for the next one. Thanks again, and cheers for now.